From Black Lives Matter to Me Too movement, from viral TikToks to Be Real. Are you keeping up with all things trendy and viral? Does social media and content shape your young mind? Can the entertainment industry be a force for societal change? These are some of the questions that our next panel seeks to discuss. They will deliberate on the dynamic landscape of youth culture in the digital age and the role of the entertainment industry in content creation, curation, and consumption. Let me introduce to you our vibrant speakers, Mr. Aayushman Sinha, founder and CEO, Represent, who has several years of experience as media and entertainment entrepreneur, focusing on accelerating pop culture in India. We've also joined by Ms. Aashna Shroff. Ms. Aashna Shroff is a luxury fashion and beauty influencer from India. Aashna has amassed more than 1 million followers across social media platforms and has been awarded by various publications for her work, including the very recent Cosmopolitan Award for Best Luxury Fashion Influencer. They're joined by Mr. Ayush Shukla, the founder of Finnet Media, an influencer marketing and talent management agency that manages most of the top influencers of India. He was among the LinkedIn top voices of 2022. And joining us also on the panel is Mr. Michael Nakan. Mr. Nakan is the CEO and founder of Envision Entertainment. He is a member of the International Academy of Television Arts and Sciences and of the Writers Guild of Great Britain. He previously worked at Joe Ritz's Shoebox Films, HBO, and on the highly acclaimed House of Cards. It is an absolute pleasure to welcome them on stage, and to moderate the session, can I please invite back to stage Ms. Aarti Subramaniam, Media Lead at India Global Forum. Please give a huge round of applause for all our panelists and Ms. Aarti Subramaniam.
So it's great that we can build up on that conversation about trends, technology, social media, because we've come from, graffiti and punk music as a way of expressing the youth angst or rage to reels and TikToks. So it's been quite a journey, and I think each of you represent such a diverse and such a important platform that is great to have you, all of you here. So thank you so much. Ayush, let me just start with you. There's so much of access to technology these days, right? Everyone's got smartphones. The internet penetration is huge in India. So there is a lot of content. But content does not mean always quality content.
Correct.
So what is it that you have to look for to make sure that you stand out? How do you set your content apart from others and just don't be, one of the millions?
Right. So I think 3 years ago, when COVID was just starting and Reels came into the picture in India, just creating content was enough to stand out, right? Like if just I'm creating content about anything and everything, people can remember, oh, this guy creates content, and that's was my differentiating factor. I think in the last 1 year especially, it has happened that almost every third person is a creator in India. That's where the differentiation aspect comes in. And I think when there are too many people in the same niche, depth of knowledge is what comes in, right? Like if everybody is creating finance content, who is giving the right finance information? If everybody is talking about businesses, who is fundamentally very accurate? I think content in the infotainment division, which I come from, the depth is very important. Right now, there are a lot of creators who have been creating since 3 years, but they are going down because the content they started 3 years ago was not as great, but because they were the only players, they were out there. Now, because more people are joining, content creation and they are good at what they do, that's why that's the first step is what I say is the content depth. And second one, I think once you've cracked the content depth, second is the storytelling aspect of it, or the making sure the basics is covered. A lot of the times the basics are not covered. Like one of the creators that we manage at Finnet is called Financial Sharan. And he's one of those creators who constantly ups his game. Right now, the normal reels that he creates is created in a studio. So he takes it to a ad production level. So I think the second point would be to constantly up your storytelling as well as production quality. The first is content, which anybody can do, but they need to have that depth, and second is the production aspect.
I see both of you nodding, and I want your takes on it as well. But Aashna, I want to add to that because you have hundreds and thousands of followers on social media, but would you rather create content that's watched or content that is liked? If I give you an option, 100 million people are going to watch it, or I say 50,000 are going to love it. Which one would you prefer?
Definitely option two.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty evident from my content as well. I started out like 10 years ago at a time when nobody was really doing this, where the word influencer didn't exist. It was just blogs, and we used to write on our little websites, and there were like very few people that read it. And that is kind of what I started out with. So today it's not really about numbers for me, it's more about the kind of content that I put out. And I think it's more about just being true to myself. Because people followed me back then for a reason and they still continue to do so. So if I reach out for more masses or more numbers, I feel like that'll just not be me. So definitely something that is more liked by people and people can relate to in terms of like, because I do fashion and beauty, so fashion that people can relate to, I think that is what I would say.
Michael, also just to add to that is, we're talking about, over content or the crowded space that it is. Streamers in India, there's several of them, some of them global, some of them local, indigenous. What we see is the Indian OTT platforms have managed to crack the market better than Netflix or Amazon has. They've got some magic sauce recipe there. So what is it that the global streamers really need to do to make a mark and for their content to be seen?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And if I had the answer to that, I think I'd be in charge of Netflix India right now. Certainly, the global streamers have tried for a long time to access the Indian market to varying degrees of success. I think one major element, and it kind of goes to what you're saying actually, is the strong local quality of local and local appeal. Fundamentally, Netflix and Amazon and other major global streaming platforms, they want the former in your previous question, right? They want 1 million people to watch it. That's more important than getting people to really love that underlying content. So they're really in the business of getting eyeballs. And I think that in comparison, something that's more pure, more local, more focused on a kind of niche audience that really loves your content is always going to actually break through. So in a way, it's a very challenging situation. I think India is a very challenging market for major American streaming platforms to break into because it's such a fragmented country with so many different groups and languages. And I won't pretend that I'm an expert, but I know that I do know that element of it. And I think that where the creator economy comes in is so fascinating is you can really focus on a small niche group who love your content. And I think probably what you're talking about in terms of like local OTT platforms succeeding in terms of views over Netflix and Amazon, et cetera, is they have that more localized approach. Whereas, you have a foreign company coming in and trying to be very broad, and as a result, not engendering any sort of significant love for the content versus a local company that has, a much stronger understanding of one fragment of society, and then you can grow from there. And actually, I think you've seen that in the success of some of the Telugu and Tamil content, language content that has been doing really well and even better than Hindi language content recently.
Aayushman, let me pick up on that. You've seen a lot of this desi, authentic, indigenous stuff that's coming to the fore. Social media is obviously giving them a great platform, which otherwise would not have been mainstreamed, is now popular. It's true to its origins. It's not trying to imitate the West, or it's not trying to just creators and content creators in India trying to make their own mark as opposed to just blindly copying a model that's worked in the West.
100%. I think what we've seen the most is the rise of communities and communities getting behind certain public figures and supporting them with their heart and soul. As an example, I manage an artist called MC Stan. He's a very controversial and famous personality. He's probably the #1 most engaged account in the world on Instagram right now, ahead of everyone else. He's got probably the most amount of distribution, though his reach per se is not the highest. That's only because he has this community of kids who come from the Indian slums, who look up to him a lot, who want to be like him, who want to get to a certain amount of level of success and break through from that. Now, as his manager, it's our job to make sure we're passing on the right information to them. We're not letting them take a path that is not possibly right for them in the grander scale of things. But at the same time, we're also working very closely with them to understand what are their likes and dislikes. How can we build more for them? How can we, is it clothing that we need to get into that will be a really cool way for them to engage with him now? Do we need to build recreation centers which he backs, which are going to be very cool for him now. So for us, it's very important to understand the artist, get their DNA right, see which community really maps to it really well, and then double down on that in every single way. The great part about India is, and a lot of people don't agree with this, but I think we have a lot of money lying with us right now. Our economy is really strong right now. We've got people who really want to invest into pop culture right now. You spoke to Arman a while back about Korean culture, and K-culture really blew up because the government really wanted that to happen. I feel like we're reaching that point right now where people really want that to happen for India. So to give you a bit of example, Reels first launched in India, now Meta's #1 priority globally. Spotify India came into India about 4 years back. It's currently top 5 in the world for them. So global companies are seeing a lot of value in India. At the same time, I think the creator economy has already started doing really well. We're finally seeing an inflow of money, which is just going to keep growing, in my opinion. So we have a lot to fuel these communities now.
Do you agree with that, Michael, that India is the next big thing, or if not the current big thing, from a streamer's perspective or from an investment perspective in the creative industry?
I think that it definitely has the potential to do so. As we were discussing before we came out on the panel, it only takes one major IP to break through, to establish a territory as a major exporter of content globally. So with Korea, you first had Parasite. Well, obviously there was a lot of films leading up to that, but Parasite was the sort of film that really broke the barriers down for Korean content. That came on the back of K-pop, and then Squid Game, of course, did the same for TV. So I think that it just takes one, in terms of the mainstream, as the kind of mainstream media guy on the panel, in terms of like mainstream approach to an individual territory, it just takes one really successful example for there to be this huge craze around a new territory. I wouldn't say right now in the kind of conventional film and TV industry, globally, there is that sort of recognition of India yet. I think that the people who really follow the analytics and understand what you're talking about in terms of Indian content increasing in quality and increasing in quantity, recognize that all the conditions are there for the next big hit to come out of India. But right now, you're still seeing, things like Citadel, the American Amazon series made by the American studio, starring Priyanka Chopra. That's still kind of the U.S. approach to India, sort of put Priyanka Chopra, our favorite Indian actress, in a Western project. So I think that, I completely think it could happen. I hope it does happen. I think it will happen in the future, but it just takes that one project to really break through.
To sort of add to that, and I'm glad you brought up the US, and I'm glad we're doing this in London right now. So at least in music, we're very confident, and at least between me and Arman, we're very, very confident that the breakout for an Indian artist is not going to happen for an Indian breaking out in the US. It's going to happen in the UK first, and we feel like that's going to travel everywhere around the world. That's why he's been here for a month writing music. That's why I'm here to do music.
Why do you say so?
I feel like our countries are really tight already. We have a very strong and supportive diaspora out here. I don't know much about America to comment about it, but I feel like this entire country is a lot more receptive to Indian music or to Indians versus any other part of the world. So I feel like we've walked into the most important offices, at least in the music industry, this entire week, and the amount of love, respect we've gotten out there has been second to none. So at least from our point of view, we feel like the big breakout for an Indian musician is going to happen out here.
And I think, London tends to be the hub of global sort of offices when it comes to U.S. sort of global companies. They have their, international head in London. The interesting question is when you reach that level of success in the UK or with a London office, how you can then translate that to maybe a US sort of global head, which doesn't always have huge amount of oversight outside of the U.S. market. But it's the right way to do it. London first.
Aashna, tell us about your content creation journey a bit, because of course we need the big breakthrough, but people also have to consider a career in social media.
Correct.
And we have a lot of youngsters here. Do people consider content creation as a proper professional choice now? Because earlier, for several years in India, it was, you're either a doctor or an engineer. There's no question of if somebody says I want to be an influencer, I want to be a filmmaker. That was blasphemous almost. Like, what are you saying? What are you planning to do? Do you think that mindset has changed now and people are
100%.
more accepting?
Yeah, I 100% feel like people today, I mean, being an influencer is a career. I always say that we are the first generation of influencers from our country. So, okay, nobody knows where exactly this is going to go. But from when I started to now, there's such a huge difference. Like 8 years ago, I had to explain to brands why they should consider getting us on board or how we can contribute to them for a particular campaign. A lot of times it would be like a little test run where they would be like, okay, let's do like a small thing, let's see how it goes. And then that's slowly kind of how, things went forward. But today it's very easy to become an influencer. I don't really like the term as much, but I feel like there aren't too many words that we can use for what we do. But it's very easy because you can just post videos online of whatever you love, whether you love cooking or you love dancing or you're a singer or, fashion, beauty, whatever. It's very easy to just get onto social media and do this. I think the space is very crowded, so it might be a little intimidating for someone who's just starting out, whether they will actually make it or not. But I also feel like there is room for everyone. Like, if you are true to yourself, there'll definitely be something about you that'll make you stand out. And that is what a brand or someone might see for their upcoming campaign. So yeah, I think if someone wants to do it, they definitely should.
You use the word easy.
Yeah.
And, again, picking up on technology.
Yeah.
Is AI making things easier? And I just want to go around the table here to get a sense of where you think artificial intelligence sits in, in your current industries. Is it a threat? Is it because you see there are a lot of these doomsday prophecies about artificial intelligence? Do you think those are overstated, or do you think it's something that can be leveraged? Ayush, let's start with you and where you see that trend heading.
I mean, it's a threat for people who don't use it, for sure. But I think AI, at the end of the day, technology, AI, it's an enabler for faster work. If I'm trying to create content in any specific topic, a ChatGPT can help me fast forward that for me. I don't have to invest a lot of time in researching. They will help me shorten that duration. So that's how I see AI. It will lead to higher quality as well as quantity of content going out. If I'm putting out one reel after 2 days of effort, now I can create one reel with, like, let's say 2-3 hours. And how many AI tools, different type of AI tools I use, that will only reduce the amount of work that I need to put in.
What do you think?
I think it's great for content creation. It fastens the process for sure. It makes you a lot more efficient. It helps you do things you would have normally not done. It brings down costs so heavily. You need to be a great writer now to have that amount of clarity. And if you prompt right, you will get a brilliant output out of it. So on the writing side, on the creativity side, it's brilliant. It's absolutely great. Where I feel it's a big threat to especially the music industry is cloning. When you're trying to clone someone's voice and try to sound like them and put that out, I feel like that is piracy back again after so long. But I also see that as a very strong opportunity. The music industry in particular has been really guarded by the major labels, and they've built systems which have not changed for the past 30 odd years. So that kind of technology advancement is really important. We need changes in our copyright law, which will finally happen, which haven't happened in the longest amount of time. So I feel like while there is a threat, it's also an opportunity to create a lot more change. But in the creative process, it's a brilliant tool to have by your side.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said. I think it's a wonderful tool. It enhances creativity. It makes people work more quickly. I think that copyright law is a huge component of this. The laws are not fit for purpose for use of AI. I don't believe that an image created by DALL-E should be sold, and the person who wrote the prompt should necessarily be the person who gets all that money, because of course there was a lot of information that was drawn from in order to create that image, and that is copyrighted material, and the people who created that material should be recompensed. So I think that the question isn't so much a doomsday scenario. I think it's everything within the kind of creator economy and the broader everything that we're talking about up here trends in the same direction, that there's lots of content out there, and it's not in the kind of mainstream media world of there's only a certain number of slots that the gatekeepers let you see, right? There's only eight shows on the BBC per year, and you can have 5,000 pitches, but only 8 get released. Now all 5,000 get released, or 10,000 get released. Everything gets released, and the internet sort of continues to expand, right? You know, it's like, it's not like you have to do something that's really broad and everyone in the world loves it. Now it's more like you have your strong community that really cares about what you do. And when you look at the models, the kind of tech models of companies like Instagram or companies like Webtoon, you know, they really require a huge amount of content actually to be created in order for the model to work. So AI is the obvious sort of final destination actually of creators, you know, being able to create more easily and much more of it, but more localized into a community section. So I think the thing we really need is copyright law to reflect the modern reality of the media business, but it's all heading in that direction.
We're running out of time, Aashna. I just want to give you the final word. I'm sure there are people here who probably want to pursue a career in content creation and social media influencers. What are your tips to them?
I think just similar to what I said before, I think if you want to start, you should definitely do it. There isn't a right or wrong time. Just start as soon as you can because there are too many people in our space. And there are also now AI creators doing the same thing. So we have some competition there as well.
But do you like the competition?
I mean, I feel like, you know, I wasn't really paying too much attention to it until like the last week.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. I'm not too sure how I feel about it. But it's there, so there's nothing you can do. And I would say just be true to yourself because like I said, the only thing that will make you stand out is just being yourself because there's got to be something that you do that will be different. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys. I would love to keep this going. We're unfortunately out of time. But this has been great. Let's just give them a round of applause. This has been a fantastic conversation and I appreciate you guys being here.